I thought of the wilderness we had left behind us, open to sea and sky, joyous in its plenitude and simplicity, perfect yet vulnerable, unaware of what is coming, defended by nothing, guarded by no one.
You know, the greatest threat to grizzlies in this Yellowstone ecosystem is climate change.
We have to start seeing ourselves as part of this very delicate ecosystem that is hurting right now, and realize that it can't hold us forever if we don't start giving something back.
We know what we have to do. The grizzly's fate and ours are one. Yes.
I read somewhere that champions are made, not born. And that in order to become a champion, you've got to put in as much work off the field as on the field.
3, 2, 1, and seek. Sought, 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 sought. Seeking, sought.
Tournament takes place only once a year, so it gets pretty crazy. And in 2003, I had my first victory. I spent the entire 8 hours in a trash can, under the bag. That's when I realized how good I was at hide and seek.
Only use it in emergencies. I only use...
An elderly woman holding up a smartphone says, I only use it in emergencies.
I am a method actor now.
You really think this is where you're going to be discovered, huh?
I'm Caroline. How are you?
I heard that, you washed up little...
He just bumped right into me and then said, sorry, I didn't see you.
When a woman reaches a certain age, she becomes a... Or when you become a... Or you become invisible.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I have an iPhone, an iPad, and an iDildo.
Good evening. My name's Ivan Weiner, Executive Director of the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience. On behalf of the entire team here at AFMX, welcome to AFMX 2021, the virtual edition. Before we get started, I wanted to thank some of our presenting sponsors. AFME Foundation, Albuquerque Film Office and Film Liaison Cindy McCrossan, Albuquerque the Magazine, Bernalillo County Commissioner Stephen Michael Cazada, Breza Terrena Olive Oil, Comcast NBC Universal, Real Solutions Airport Meet and Greet Service, Sunny 505, the Baker Law Group, University of New Mexico Film and Digital Arts Program, Wells Fargo Advisors and Larry Schwartz, Yamaha Entertainment Group, and Jalska Road Productions. For a complete lineup of all of our films and events and for tickets, please visit our website at afmxnm.com. Lastly, we invite you to be part of our award ceremony on Sunday, September 26th at 7 p.m., which will stream live on Facebook Live. Go to afmxnm.com for more information or visit us on Facebook. Show your support for the filmmakers as well by casting your audience vote. All award winners will be announced live on Facebook this Sunday, 7 p.m., once again, Mountain Time. Check our Facebook page for more information. Now, I would like to introduce our Director of Operations, Kira Seipler.
Hi, thank you, Ivan. Welcome to our film block number 2, The Beast of Our Time and Unearthing Ogawa. Please note to our audience members that we will be allowing questions to be asked during the Q&A. So just type your question in the chat box and we will do our very best to answer all of your questions. Please note all of the films, Q&As and center stage conversations will be recorded and available online through October 11th. Now, please help me welcome our moderator, Glenna Voigt. Glenna is a commissioner with the State of New Mexico Public Education Commission, a W.K. Kellogg Fellow, and the former founding principal of the Media Arts Collaborative Charter School in Albuquerque. As an educator, Glenna believes that media is essential for students learning within the 21st century, whether by using media as a tool for self-expression and activism, or as a medium for demonstrating learning creativity. Students' abilities to deconstruct meaning from media is vital to the development and intellectual capacity. We are so pleased to have her moderate this film program. And now please welcome Glenna.
Thanks so much, Kira. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here. As she said, my name is Glenna Voigt, and I really do believe in the power of media and the power it has to influence change in our society. I will be your moderator today, and I would like to introduce our filmmakers at this time. Maaike with Beast of Our Time. Maaike Middleton, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, my name is Maaike Middleton. I'm the producer and director from The Beast of Our Time, a short documentary about the impact of climate change on grizzly bears, which you have seen. Thank you for watching it. And yeah, we are honored to be part of the festival. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And then also we have with us from Unearthing Ogawa, we have Steve Meixel and Anthony DeLuca. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Steve Meixel. I'm the writer, director, and producer of Unearthing Ogawa, and have a background. I came out of writing short stories, novellas, and then I got into also writing and directing media and films, and this is the first feature film that I've worked on.
Anthony DeLuca, editor for Unearthing Ogawa. I've edited numerous documentaries, commercials, worked with ad agencies, but this is our first collaboration together.
Super, thank you so much. It's great to have the producer, director, and screenwriter along with the editor, because we know that most oftentimes the power of story is in the power of editing. I don't know where I heard that, but I did hear that recently. So documentary is close to my heart. My favorite genre of film. And I'm curious to know from both filmmakers, what it was that inspired you to put time and so much energy into the making of your films. Whoever would like to go first, you can just shout out.
I can go ahead and start. So for us here in Montana, which is where I am based, we have grizzly bears that are coming out of Yellowstone Park because of climate change. And so many people do not know the plight of the grizzly bear. And they do not know how to live with grizzly bears, which is another key point. So when Doug Peacock, who was in the film, as well as our executive producer, came to Brad and I and asked us to make this film, we jumped at the chance. Not only because Doug is an expert on grizzly bears, but he has a phenomenal history of filming with them, working with them, and his connection in the grizzly bear world is just amazing. So for us to be able to tell this story was an honor, and to be able to use documentary, which, like you, Glenna, I love. I feel like documentary really allows you to connect with people and allows you to show who people really are. So that was wonderful to be able to tell the story of the grizzly bear.
Thank you for that. Yeah, connection and exchange is so powerfully conveyed, isn't it, through documentary film? Steve and Anthony, do you have any thoughts behind your inspiration and time and energy, motivation into making your film?
It was nearing the end of my father's life, and I think sometimes we're motivated by thinking about our parents' legacy. And he was an unusual, very empathetic person who was always trying to help people. And I'd already begun talking to him about the story about the return of the diary and what it meant. And it was, to me, just very emblematic of his entire life, that it was this act of selfless international goodwill. Toward the end of the 90s and into the last 20 years or so, I just felt we needed more and more discussion and presentation of international goodwill and how we can all reach out to try to help each other. And part of that was that I was handed this great story. I knew it was going to be a great story, and I knew that it was going to require a really skilled editor, and that's how I found Anthony, because when I approached him, I had 120 hours of raw footage, all kinds of archival research, and it was this huge, huge block of stone, and I needed someone skilled to start chipping away and getting down to the core story. And it was because due to his patience, I was able to do that with somebody who worked every step of the way. So there.
That really makes me think about the time. I know that your film took over lifetimes, literally. To put together and archive that footage reminds me of the challenge it takes to make a film from beginning to end. So could you speak, we'll start with Steve and Anthony, to the most challenging aspect that you experienced while making your film?
When we began, we had the bare bones story, and we knew that I'm drawn to great, really good stories, but not driven by plot, which is just this happened, this happened. I'm drawn to stories that are driven by character, people's characters involved. We knew we had a great story, but we didn't know where it would lead or how it would end. We didn't know if we could track down and find the Ogawas again. We didn't know if they'd be receptive to bringing the story back to light. They could be resentful that they'd lost their, in this case, sibling. In the course of war. We had no idea if the siblings would be alive or not, if there were many people around. So we just kept tracking the story. It kept leading us to new ground, and as we went, it kept leading us to higher ground. So the challenge was writing the story all the way through, and we certainly were motivated. We never lagged at all. So, and in terms of editing, he had a whole different set of challenges.
Well, and I had a fresh eye on things, as Steve was living with this for so many years came in fresh, but I think the collaboration of going through the footage together and his skill of writing, it just really came together, and we found that common, what we were trying to accomplish. And
we'd never met, and it was unusual chemistry. We came at it and we seemed to click with the same kind of vision. And so it was very easy to go full bore ahead.
Oh, that's fantastic. Especially after not ever meeting, to share
Right.
that, that synchronicity and
Yeah.
Wow. But so Micah, with your experience, I know you had some challenges, as any filmmaker would have making the film, but also did you have any unexpected accidents or surprise experiences that might have had a happy ending or increased the value of your productions?
So we were actually supposed to make the film 2 years ago. And some situations came up and we had to delay it. And then last year, during the middle of COVID, everything kind of fell into place, and we were able to film with everybody, and it all lined up, which was absolutely fantastic. And the previous year, when Dr. Barry Gilbert had come down, because he comes down every year, kind of at the beginning of summer, we had gone with Barry Gilbert and Jesse Logan to go look for some white bark pine. And we just decided we're just going to bring our cameras just in case. And we just film as a test run. And last year, with the borders being closed, Barry couldn't come down. So that was a very kind of a lucky accident that, we had the footage. It wasn't as beautifully shot as the rest, but we really felt that Barry's voice in the film added a tremendous amount. And so we felt that even though the quality of the footage wasn't as good, it was worth adding him. So that was kind of one of those lessons that you learn. You always film, because you never know if you're going to use it or not. Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure, did you do the editing yourself?
I did not. No. We had a very talented editor based in Santa Barbara. This whole film was, editing wise, was virtual.
Oh my.
So we had, talent. Our editor John Klein was in Santa Barbara, and then our online editor Justin Rowe was also based in near Santa Barbara. So lots of Zoom meetings and wow.
Yep, that's what we do now. Zoom meetings.
Yep.
And watching both of your films, something that really struck me about both of them, there were many things, but I think the aspect of just humanity came across both pieces really strong, and the aspect of following through on good intentions spoke to me through both of these. Is there anything that you might want to elaborate on as maybe a theme that you worked with from beginning to end throughout the production of your film? Maaike, would you like to consider that?
Sure. So our big kind of through line was the grizzly bear.
Yeah.
We really worked really hard to make sure that the grizzly bear was the main character. Even though we didn't have one bear that we followed, we had Bob Landis footage with several other filmmakers, just beautiful bear footage, but we really wanted to make sure that the bear was our key character. And that's what we really worked on with the opening of the film, to make sure that you got a sense of our main character, even though it wasn't the same bear, and they can't speak, but to see their images, and then to take the words of Ed Abbey, and then to have Jeff's narration, telling the story. And we really wanted, yeah, that connection. We wanted people to connect with the grizzly bear, even if they'd never seen one, even if they may never see one, that they get that passion and that love for this great creature. So I hope that's what we did.
I certainly felt that. I mean, it was something that, you know, I could see myself in what I was seeing outside, you know, through Jeff's narration and through seeing the bears. It was something that I really connected with. I could see myself in seeing nature or seeing outside, and also the aspect that you brought in with the Native American perspective and their connection to nature was really powerful. I was appreciative of seeing that. How about in Unearthing Ogawa, was there any strong theme that resonated that you worked throughout your production with from beginning to end?
Yes. It became our calling card, really, as we built a team. It's a very small group of 4 or 5 times maybe 6 people that were involved. It's a ragtag team that we put together, but everybody had some of the same personalities. And the theme was that it even came out in the film that John Meixel believed in following through on your good intentions. And that was something he believed in. And the other thing was, as we explained the story to people, that was a mission of international goodwill. People, whether it be Yoko Matsuoka McLean, who traveled with us to Japan, Natsume Soseki's granddaughter, she said, as soon as she heard the story, she said, "Count me in." And when I approached one of the cinematographer, Eddie Goodell, up in Toronto, he's a great fashion photographer up in Toronto. He'd never really gotten into film, but he was thinking about it. And he said, "Well, if you're willing to take a bet on me," he said, again, "Count me in." When I approached Anthony, he heard the full story, and he said the same thing, because he had a parallel path with his grandfather's career. And then Maggie Hushalek, the narrator, she's from Toronto and a great actress up in Toronto. I just sent her our rough cut with our scratch track, and we were hoping for the best. She's one of the best voices in Canada, and she just wrote back and said, "When and where, I'll be there. Let's do it." So yeah, the themes were following through on good intent, but expressing international goodwill.
And you know, what I found so remarkable was just the encounters. And you had there were accidental encounters with like Bladzel from the Zippo lighter.
Oh, Blaisdell, yeah.
Blaisdell. I mean, that encounter alone that your father had as a young man, that just really set, you know, his ethics and morals throughout his life, for him to even pursue that journey of connection. And then the connection with Maxwell Kennedy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That he had in that international house. I mean, those types of connections, I mean, you just have to wonder about how those happened and why.
And we couldn't even
plan for that.
No, and we couldn't even convey all the other connections that happened. There wasn't time. When I met Max Kennedy, I only knew him because I had seen him in a film the week before, and about Robert Ballard, the guy who found the Titanic. And so I went up to him and I said, "Are you the guy from the Robert Ballard film?" And he said, "Yeah." And later, when we got to know each other, he goes, "The reason I liked you and wanted to talk about our projects was because you didn't come up to me and say, 'Are you Robert Kennedy's son?' You knew me from the Robert Ballard film." It turned out he was there to interview the family of a kamikaze pilot whose name also happened to be Ogawa. It was unbelievable coincidences all along. And when I was down researching my father's background in Bradford, Pennsylvania, I was paying respects at my grandparents' gravesite, and I looked over, and I never even saw it before. I looked over, and it was George Blaisdell tombstone, so I went over there and paid respects there too.
Wow.
All the stuff I learned along the way and how everything came together. It was just amazing. There was so much more to it going on behind the scenes throughout all those days of shooting, and one thing turning into another. It was really interesting for me.
It is. It's
All
almost
the backstory as well.
yeah, it's almost miraculous, truly. I mean, as independent filmmakers, you bring so much voice forward for the community. And I'm just wondering, what are your hopes for the independent film community? Maaike, would you like to speak on any thoughts of that?
Sure. I love, as a filmmaker, it is wonderful to see that technology has given us the ability to tell stories, and for everyone to be able to tell stories. We all have phones with cameras, and it's in those moments that you see something, that you experience something that before we may not have been able to capture. But new technology is giving so many new artists and filmmakers the opportunity to tell stories, and to not give up, to keep telling stories and to keep trying, and to just don't give up, because your story may resonate with somebody who you don't even know, and there's so many stories out there that touch people. So yeah, I think there's a great future.
Thank you. That's so true. Steve, Anthony, independent filmmaking in the community, what do you hope for that?
Playing off of what Maaike just said, one of the things we realized early on as people began to view the film was something that we hoped would be one of the takeaways, is that people would, at the end of it, say, just like that, the opening quotes that we have in the film, how can I knock on history's door and have that door open? And one of the things we like is people began saying, your film made me wonder, what's in my attic? What's in my filing cabinet? What's in my basement? Or what's in my family tree? And what wonderful stories can I tell? And that will open up and access not only to history, but to a larger world, and even to those who tread before us. And I think we all have the capacity to share those stories. And I think that's my favorite part of independent filmmaking, are those stories.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. So do we foresee possibly any sequels in the future for Beasts of Our Time, or anything else to follow up with in Japan about Unearthing Ogawa?
I've gotten requests.
Yeah, the U.S. Japan Foundation and David Janes, who is the American ambassador to the International House, approaches, and they'd like to have a showing of the film at the International House in Tokyo, and in which case we would investigate bringing not just the Ogawas that were in the film that are still living, but also the next generation, and bring maybe everyone together at the International House and see how that story can continue on.
Awesome. That's wonderful. How about Maaike? Any update possibly with how the Bears might be doing?
Not at the moment. Well, time will tell.
Yeah, that's so true. And I hope better and more population.
Yes, that is our hope as well.
Thanks. So I wanted to talk briefly, I think we have about 5 minutes left, about your creative journeys. So given that you've completed your films and they've been huge successes and you've touched many hearts, do you feel pressure to create, and do you feel guilty if you don't? Anyone can go if you're ready.
No, I think we're ready to move on to the next projects. And what we want to do is have a subject matter that fills us with the same passion that Unearthing Ogawa did. When you have passion, when you know you have a good story, not only does it make it very easy to get up in the morning and tackle it every day, but then I think that passion spreads to those around you, and you begin to have pieces fall into place. Like you were talking about before, some of the serendipity or the kismet that occurred. When you have passion, things seem to click.
Yes, I have to agree with that. And having a good team around you is key. Being able to bounce ideas off of each other is incredible. And I don't know what my next film will be. There's some possibilities, but it's again it's that passion and having that team, and no pressure. Like for the Beast of our time, we had a phenomenal team, and it was a true honor on my part to be able to work with everybody.
Wonderful. That's so good to hear. I wonder what is the biggest piece of advice that, as filmmakers, that you could give to anyone, maybe upcoming youth filmmakers. What's the biggest piece of advice that you could give someone right now that's pursuing this industry of filmmaking?
You know, a lot of times I've noticed it's the people that you work with and the people you meet along the way. And what I would say to young people who want to be, you know, in this business in any way, not just an editor, but to get yourself out there and meet people, get into projects or other things going on around you, and to really network, because it is those people that you work with that also make you good at what you do.
And I would just say, Glenna, you and I talked about this. I think the greatest insurance policy against mediocrity is to find the best people to work with, no matter how long it takes. And on the bio section on our website, it goes into some detail about how long it took me to find Anthony. And it turned out he was living in, his editing suite was 2 blocks from my house. I'd been living in New York, Los Angeles, Toronto. And finally a connection popped up, and he was under the radar. He likes to work that way. Same thing with Eddie Goodell up in Toronto, a tremendous cinematographer. And my wife, Lynn Penrose Mikesell, who is associate producer on this, a super organizer, skills that I don't have, these 3 people all had. And so, yeah, I would say the best advice to other filmmakers is job number 1 is to build the best team around you that you can. And that will pay dividends every day.
Thank you. Maaike,
Awesome. Well, and like I said earlier, don't give up. It's a hard industry, and depending on what's, section of documentary you pick, don't give up and never lose your passion, and keep telling stories.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you both so much. We enjoyed your films tremendously. They've impacted our viewers. They impacted me, and I'm so appreciative to have had the honor to meet you and to enjoy your productions. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're right, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I did it again. I muted myself.
You're like Britney Spears.
I know. Thank you, Glenna, Anthony, Steve, and Maaike. I really personally enjoyed all of your documentaries, and I look forward to your next project. Thank you for joining us. Remember, our audience, all conversations and Q&As will be recorded and available online through October 11th. For the complete lineup and for ticket sales, please visit us at afmxnm.com. And stick around for our next film block at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time when we have a great collection of comedies coming your way. I hope we can see you then. Until then, have a good evening. Thank you.